All right. So, welcome to the first brand new rebooted episode of, I guess, Drunken Guardian podcast. Or it's not really a podcast, just Drunken Guardian channel and just Drunken Guardian and Sober Guardian at the moment, chatting about our passion, what we love, freaking gaming news, the video games themselves, game reviews, and all sorts of things with that. And actually, TV shows. We'll be talking about some gaming TV shows like Twisted Metal in the future and Dad of War, God of War, pretty much. Say hi, sober.
Hey, how's it going?
So we're going to be talking about. This is going to be probably about an hour long episode. We're going to be talking about Destiny. Destiny 1, Destiny 2, and Bungie, kind of including the whole thing. If we got some time, we'll talk about some other stuff as well. But yeah, I wanted to chat about that. And as you can see, I'm behind a bar. So I'm actually going to just be working on some cocktails every episode. Not necessarily drink them because I'm not looking to get obliterated or something like that. But I will make them and also post the recipes in the description so you guys can try them out as well. Today I'm going to do two cocktails that already exist. These aren't my own personal ones that I've created myself. The Last Word is one cocktail we're gonna do that is an exotic hand cannon from the game, but is actually a cocktail. And also Demon of Destiny, which I found somewhere online quite a while ago, and I just figured it's called Demon of Destiny, so I figured that'd be a fun one to work on. Um, with Destiny, me and Danny, Sober Guardian, we've been playing Destiny since the beginning, pretty much. Danny, I think you've been playing since the alpha. I mean, the beta, right?
Well, technically, the demo. So the D1 had a demo
Like an
originally.
out, like an alpha.
It was one of the first few demos where you got to keep what you did. No, it's a lie. You
Okay,
got to restart that. No, you had to
so
restart that too. It ended up being annoying. So
so it was
never
probably
mind. It was just
on.
a demo that was on Xbox. I
Uh-huh.
think it was Xbox One originally, and it was just a demo that I played. And
Okay,
I knew about it obviously, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
was looking
I
forward to
I
the new MMO.
I jumped in maybe 2 weeks in after the release date, and that's only because I was on deployment and I had no internet connection, so there's no way for me to want to play anything online. So I was stuck like that. Um, but as soon as I got home, like Danny, uh, I remember you talked up the game like crazy, and you had me excited for it, and I jumped on the bandwagon afterwards, and I never looked back because I've been playing it. And by the way, I know Danny, you don't see it, but like I am toe to head to toe in my Destiny gear right now. I got my hat. I got one of my Triumph shirts. I got my Cade statue in front of me. I got my ghost behind me. And I even got some glassware that I'm probably going to use for one of the cocktails at some point. Um, so yeah, that's how much of a fan I am. First thing off, I want to talk about Destiny 1, like our first initial experience of the game when we first played it. What were your thoughts on D1 when we first started playing it? Up and through up throughout the years, pretty much.
So D1 when it first came out, it was very. I was playing a lot of MMOs and World of Warcraft at that time. I think I started Final Fantasy 14. Didn't like it at the time. It was different then. Um, and I just what I was itching for that MMO. So when they said they were making a gun MMO, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Very disappointed there was no healer class, but they did have
Yeah.
something that the original Warlock kind of was a healer class a little bit. And they get a few healing orbs, stuff like that, but it also can res. It had the mass res as its ultimate, which they never brought back. I missed that.
Yeah. I do
Um,
miss that.
so I, so that was why I started with Warlock and then went back. But it was very unique. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it, but the story never intrigued me, and still really hasn't really fully intrigued me. I don't play to get Destiny for story. I play for the gameplay. I like
Mhm.
the idea of the strikes and the raids and the things that they did, and it was just fun. It was just a fun multiplayer experience. I don't think me and you, we played a little bit together, but not as much. Oh, not like D2.
Of
We
D1?
played the.
We didn't do any raids or anything like that.
I think we did like one because I only did a few raids by myself. Like I only done like one raid period in D1,
Uh
and
huh.
and I know there was a few that came out, but I was never really that into it like that. Like I saw it, I was fun, but I'm like I can't do this. I'm just not fully invested into the first one. And it wasn't until the second one where I got like really, really into it. Also, I was going through life transition periods of like getting married and having
Oh,
kids
that's
and stuff
very
like that
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
during that time. So it's also why I didn't play as much until D2 came out, and then we played that one fully. What about you? What was your experience at D1?
Um, so actually, literally, my first initial experience is that I wasn't impressed. Um, because yeah, I'm more about not just gameplay, but actual story content. And there wasn't really a lot of structure with everything going on. And we know like the controversy and stuff what happened with D1, like they lost their writers or something. It's been a while, so I can't remember, but like they lost their writers or something, so they lost a lot of the lore and their script pretty much and everything that was supposed to happen. Uh so it didn't feel like a finished product, but I really was just playing it because you were playing it as well, so it's something that we could play together. Um so I was like okay with it, but once stuff started building, especially like towards I think it was like the Dark Below or some shit, like it was the second DLC with when you fight Crota. Um why am I
Yeah.
stirring this? I should be shaking this. Oh well, it's fine. Um uh Shoot, what was I saying? So yeah, after
Wasn't until
that,
Crota.
yeah, it wasn't until Crota when things started to like come. It was more clear of what their direction was going, and I really, 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 really love sci-fi stuff. I don't like first-person shooters that are like super militaristic or super like grounded and stuff. I like fantasy and sci-fi. So as everything started building and more exotics came out and the loot system and just everything started to become a lot more of a clearer vision, I think I really started to love it. And you already know, like I became obsessed with the story, the lore pretty much. Like I used to read all the cards and look at all the videos and things. So yeah, I think towards pretty much the middle towards the end and then up until the end was when I really felt it. That was my experience with that.
Yeah, for me it was the exact opposite. Obviously, like I was very into the story when it obviously played the story mode and whatnot. And then when it got into a lot of the lore stuff, I was out of it because the lore, just like it's still continue, it's not really in the base game. I mean, it is in the base game, bro. It's not up front. You have to go through when you get certain weapons and certain things. Like they do it more of that codex now than they did before, but it was a
Yep.
little bit buried to find it. And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna read all that. If they want me to have the lore, they fucking tell me the lore then, you know. And that was a big thing that threw me off. But and I know you've had to explain of like, look, this new boss, they said it in this codex thing that I read, and this is what this guy is, and you have all this crazy story. I'm like, oh, that is kind of interesting, but still,
It just didn't wow you though. Like
no, no.
I tried to get you into the story, but it was very clear that it wasn't appealing to you. Why wasn't it appealing to you?
Again, it was mainly the fact that in order to figure out what was actually going on, you had to read and find those codexes and get them in the right order, basically. And
Hmm.
to me, that was just very confusing. So I'm like, I'm not really gonna put time and effort into that. And then when I've done the video dies or like hour long video of them putting stuff together, but just something about it just seems very. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it doesn't. I, that super sci-fi like that. Maybe I'm not into. I'm more fantasy than
Okay.
sci-fi, I guess. And I guess I never actually realized it. I love playing sci-fi games, like the action aspect of it, I find to be so fun, and the raid and dungeon aspect of it, I find to be so fun. But like, yeah,
Hmm.
just
So going into D2, I mean, so D1 only lasted what, 3 years, and then D2 lasted for 8 years. It's still going on now, but D1 was in 2014, and then we got 2017 was D2. So when Destiny 2 came out, how did you feel about that compared to D1?
so when I first played it, I was a little, I was. And you explained to me that they needed. I believe something happened where they needed they couldn't fully make the extension of D2 the way they wanted to with the storyline and with, I believe it's the engine or something like that that they needed, and
Uh-huh.
they couldn't do it in D1 with all that. So they needed D2 to be able to expand it and make it better and make it greater and change, basically change a lot of stuff. But I didn't feel like there was, in the beginning anyways, obviously, there was much change from D1 to D2. It really, to me, felt like a DLC, a fancy DLC, right? Like kind of how we get DLCs now, honestly. Like we just got a recent
Hmm.
DLC and then the entire armor system changed. It's the same shit. We got a new DLC, and yes, our basic or subclasses, the way you level them up changed, but it was just a new system. So I was a little bit disappointed with that, but I knew the potential that it had with the raids and all that stuff and doing more and new that that was going to be good. So I wasn't too disappointed. And as the years gone on, it just became the same. It was the same shit, different day thing
Okay.
from D2 to me. So it became like, all right, at this point they need something drastic. But yeah. What about you? What
Well,
was your transition between D1 and D2?
it was literally the exact same way that I felt with D1 because I was excited to jump on D2 and continue the story. And the same shit happened that happened with D1 when it comes to the story structure. They lost a lot of it, and it wasn't a really a clear vision. Like there was a main campaign story, but after the campaign story was done, like nothing else was really progressing story wise or and content wise, like the evolution of it.
Yeah.
So it took a while again to gain momentum for me to like really start to love it again. Um, so it did take a while, but I started to love it even more because it felt like they were taking this fantasy setting more seriously to the point where like I can see this becoming such a big franchise in like television, like TV shows or books. Because Halo, Bungie made Halo, and Halo's got a massive fan base for like their books. They have the TV show now. They have freaking animated shows. They have machinimas now. Like they got all this stuff, and I saw Destiny as the same way. So I was excited for that, but unfortunately, it didn't really turn out that way, which I know we'll talk about at some point. But that's how I felt about the difference between it. So I felt like there wasn't much of a difference until a couple years later when Bungie kind of got their shit together.
But isn't like you felt like they had potential for because of the storyline or because of what they were
Gameplay?
doing? The gameplay? It was just the way the gameplay moved. Like
No, no,
what
I'm
made you think,
asking.
oh, they could
Okay.
this could be a book? What this could be a book, or this can be um
The
this could be a
story.
book, or this could be a movie. It was a
The
story.
story because yes, I will admit that where Bungie goes wrong with the game is that they don't put out enough of the story out in front of people's
Yeah.
faces, like whether it be voice acting, cutscenes, the actual campaign missions, things like that. It's all hidden in lore, and you have to actively read the lore in order to enjoy it. Uh,
Hmm.
that's the hard part for a lot of people. Like some people like that stuff, like for example, Dark Souls or yeah, or even Elden Ring. Um, you play the game and they barely give you a lot of context. You have to read
Yeah.
the lore involved in order to understand a lot of it. So there are fans that like it that way. I only really prefer it for Destiny. So when the fact that they have lore within it just shows like you have no idea, and I tell this to everybody, you have no idea how fleshed out this world really is if Bungie was to make cutscenes and voice acting for everything they have in the lore. It's ridiculous. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the potential that I saw. That I was just like, oh, they could combine all this and literally make novels of all these characters that nobody knows about because they're never named in the actual game, or just like
Yeah.
other species, battles that have happened, adventures from other guardians that nobody knows about. Like, there's so much shit that they can do, and sadly, they kind of missed out on that. So that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I'm surprised they never put out a book or something extra. They really didn't, and it just seems like the perfect IP to do something like this. Like you said, there's lesser, a lot lesser games have done stuff like that to try to build themselves
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's right. So, do you think the product got better with D2 like throughout the years, especially where we're up to, right now in 2025? Has it gotten better, the same, or even worse for that matter since like the beginning of D2?
well, it's on a better system and a better engine, right? Like it can, you have more mobs than you ever did in D1 to fight against. You have more visual effects and things, and just overall the way the game looks, plays, and acts. Bigger worlds, bigger
Mhm.
maps. Overall, that is always going to be the improvement. Um. So yeah. So overall, yes, of course, I do think it's gotten better, D1 to D2. Now, do I think the beginning of D2 and now has gotten better? No, it's very much the same. I feel like it's very much the same. And that's kind of what a lot of people's burnout is. It's just doing the same stuff, the same things, but in different ways. They just put different coats of
Okay.
paint. The exact same thing, but and just called it different, and it's just different ways to grind new weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're really innovative on the weapons they've created over the years. That's and the armor and stuff like that. Like they have been able to keep that fresh so that you are um excited to get the new weapon or armor set or whatever it is. And every now and then they throw a subclass at you, and then they do the classic MMO type things that keeps you intrigued. But that might be a personal preference versus just gaming in general, right? Like people play World of Warcraft from fucking way past when that fucking game came out
Mm-hmm.
to now, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just the same fucking game. It's basically the same game. Point, click, fucking do something. It's the same model of a game. So is like with these Destiny's always going to be Destiny, but yeah, that's my answer. Is it?
Okay. Um, I think it's gotten worse actually. Um, and we'll touch on this as well, but I think it's mostly because of the corporate machine. uh, I think management gets involved, or not management, but the upper CEOs and publishers. We're talking about Sony at this point, but we also had Activision at one point, that were like kind
Yeah.
of like had the reins for a while. Um,
Because they blamed it on Activision. Of like, oh yeah, Activision. It's Activision's
right.
fault that we have no race to anything. And then with Sony, we're gonna have so much more. And it's like, no, it's the same, if not worse.
It's still
So
the same, which is true because
yeah,
they blamed Activision for a lot of stuff. And not
hmm
to say that Activision, it wasn't Activision's fault, because it definitely partly was, but
yeah,
Bungie was kind of hiding a lot of mismanagement that was actually going on within that company, and just
no,
blaming Activision. So everybody thought it was just another evil publisher and everything like that. And then eventually it came to light that Bungie was actually mismanaging a lot of financials, and there was a bunch of harassment issues.
mm, yeah,
What do you call it? Uh, what do you call it? Equal opportunity issues, things like
hmm
that. So yeah, I think it's gotten worse. And I know, when I ask that question, I know it probably just means like gameplay or story wise, but I think because of the stuff that happened, it has affected the gameplay and the story, because they cut
Mhm.
corners and they restrict certain things for, like, further for future DLCs. Stuff is behind paywalls, such as the microtransaction store. There's not a lot of loot to grind because a lot of it you have to buy, and the stuff that you do have to grind is too incredibly easy because they also want to cater to the casual, so they just want to kind of throw everything to everybody easily. So I feel like it's gotten worse because of that, that kind of greed, and that loss of vision. It stopped being a game, for the hardcore, and it started just being a money machine for the casual. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's gotten worse throughout the years. Um, I was excited for the final shape, um, mostly because me and you dropped Destiny. I want to say after
100%.
what was the DLC before that? Um,
The
was
final
the
shape.
no, not the final shape. Before that one, it was oh Jesus Christ! Now I gotta look that shit up. I'm blanking out on the last DLC.
Because we didn't drop it 100% before the last DLC. I
Oh,
mean,
we
a
kind we
little bit, but
I would say I would say like 90% we dropped it though.
I still
Not
remember playing a
into
little
the
bit. We dropped it
lights.
100% because I fucking finally actually no, you know what? You're right. We did because I uninstalled it and I had to reinstall it for Final Shape. So you're right. It
Yeah,
was. I'm trying to think.
it was beyond light, and then right after that one, because Beyond Light was the one where we finally get darkness powers for the first time, and we still played that one. We still kind of
Yeah,
enjoyed that
we still
one.
did it. Yeah, because I remember making
Destiny.
tons of builds. And I did enjoy that a little bit. I remember grinding and going deep into the grind and doing all the. I think you, I know, you quit after like
Beyond
for
Light.
towards the last.
Beyond Light.
Yeah,
So
and you
that
quit
was the
like after
one.
the pirate ship, the pirate stuff. Like once the pirate stuff came out, you
The
were like,
pirate
I'm
season.
done.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
because
I'm
it
done
was
with this."
because it was exactly what you said. It was the same freaking grinds with just it's the same shit but just with a different coat of paint. So
And
that's
they
what it
got
felt like to
really,
me.
but they were really bad. It was every single season was exactly the same. It was even like a similar like event. The seasonal event was basically the same thing. It's just in a different place. It was really fucking. It was really piss poor to me. That was really bad. And we kind of quit around the same time, and we both came back for Final Shape, obviously, because you kind of have to, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Well, that was my question on it because things were dying down for us and we hadn't touched it for a long time. So when Final Shape was out, I was more excited for closure. It was almost like an ex-girlfriend coming back, and like I just wanted closure for the shit that we went through. So
yeah,
I went
yeah, and
back for Final Shape. Go ahead.
I remember I did uninstall it and I reinstalled it for Final Shape, and I got back into it, and I got deep into it a lot faster than you did. A lot for like I think I hit max like not max but like high max high let level really quickly before you even like touched the fucking game because you were like, I'm done. I beat the game and I don't want to play this no more. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I finally got good at this. Wait.
Yeah, I used to be ahead of you all the time with everything, and then all of a sudden you started
Yeah.
Sherpa-ing me.
Yeah. And I remember going, okay, I got this. I know what to do. I can help him level up. And he's like, I don't want to play. I'm like, oh, but I'm having fun.
Yeah,
Fuck it. I don't really care. Like I'm having fun, but it's not that it's not that fucking fun. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like so I was like, all right. And then we literally uninstalled it and we missed, I don't know, 3, 4 freaking seasons after that. Like we literally did
I feel
not
like we
play.
missed more than that. Oh, wait, after Final
Probably.
Shape? Yeah, yeah. No, sorry. You're right because it's
Yeah.
only
Like
about 3 months every season, up more or less. So, yeah, you're
well, it
right. You're
was
right.
4 at the time before they changed it. Or maybe I don't remember if they changed it while we were playing, but still, yeah. But either way, that we stopped playing and it was like and I didn't miss it, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so was Final Shape it for you? That kind of like you felt like that was it? Did Final Shape
I
do
mean,
it for you?
like, I'm not playing anymore now, or
Yeah,
did it
like there was
put
like
me
some
bring
good
me back?
closure, and you're okay with just putting down the controller.
Well, you gotta realize this. No, because I don't have closure. I don't have that same sense of closure because I didn't give a shit about the
True,
storyline,
you're right.
right?
Yeah,
Like I didn't even know what was really going on. Like I get it. Don't get me wrong. I know what's going on. I'm at that dense. I even saw a few
well, I
videos to
also talk
explain
your ear
everything, but
off of it too.
exactly. And like I know what's going on. I fully know what's going on with the witness and this guy and all that stuff, and I get it. I just didn't care, right? And I never cared. That's not why I played it. I played it because of the mechanics of the game. The game itself is really fun, regardless of you know the repetitiveness. It is a really fun game to play. When we go back into it, I'm like, wow, this is actually really fun. I fucking remember doing all these combos and all these builds I had and all this shit and these builds that that I want to make. I like build crafting. I really do.
Yes.
I'm the type to min, you know me. I'm the type to min max and look up online on different builds that seem
Yeah.
interesting, and I have like 12 different types of builds, right? And then
Yep.
I'll grind to get a certain weapon or armor, and be like, fuck, I really need this. Why? Because I'm trying to build a fucking. I'm trying to do a build that I'll never use again.
And now they got
You
healer
know?
builds. They got healer builds now.
I have a healer build. I've always had a healer build. That was always the first one I made.
No, I'm saying
I
that
actually
now
did.
because your complaint about that in D1 was they didn't have healer builds, and
Yes,
slowly in
they didn't.
D2 they introduced that.
Yeah, and I never have like they had it in D2. They did introduce it a little more, and they had a healer build even in the middle. They had one, and I had it for raids. Like I had Luna, and I remember doing a raid. Like, okay, I'm gonna heal. I'm gonna throw healing grenades and shoot people with Lumina and shit like that, and it actually helped out. It worked out really well.
Mm.
And every now and then I do that too. It's just, and I remember like you almost needing that because you buff people as well, and it's
Oh
still
yeah.
again it's the gameplay of it. The game itself, the gameplay is very fun. That will always keep me involved. It's just the monotony of it. After a while, is like I get it. I'm good. I'll take another break until they do something new. Um, yeah, because that's gonna jump me into to my next questions. Oh, next
Yeah, no,
statements.
that's true. I guess that makes sense. It was the same for me because the grind got monotonous after a while. And the story content. So here's a funny thing: the story content still kept me going, still kept my interest, but not by jumping into the game. I only every time a season came out, I just kept track through YouTube videos. Like, thank you for my name is Bife, Astacross, um, shoot, who
Alec was
else?
my favorite because
Yeah,
I
there's
said
a
it
lot
before.
of
His voice is
lore.
very funny. His voice
there's
makes me
there's
laugh.
a there's a lot of lore daddies out there who that's their
Yeah,
content, that's their bread and butter. So I listen to all of them, and I love the content they put out. So that's what keeps me updated once I had stopped playing the game, because I still love the
yeah.
lore and the story. And then once we got the new DLC that just came out a couple weeks ago, freaking Edge of Fate, and that pretty much starts a new saga, because the old saga was the light and dark saga, the battle between light and dark powers, and the light and dark I guess entities and stuff. Um, but this one, Edge of Fate, kind of focuses on the Nine, which is a very
Mhm.
secretive group of individuals, entities, however you want to put it, that were very vague throughout Destiny lore up until now. So it was interesting that they were introducing them as like the main, I guess you can kind of say big bads, but we also have other big bads that we're focusing on as well that they introduced in this DLC. Um, but what did you think of the new saga? Because that's the pretty much the only thing that brought us back was our interest in the changes to the armor, the changes to the story, the changes to the grinding, new planets, things like that. So like first off, just let's just talk about story. What'd you think of the story for
Let's
Edge
get
of Fate?
let's get your opinions first. So my opinion is going to be different from yours, and
Oh, of course.
I think some of your opinions align on a lot of what other people
Well, because
community
I
believe.
already know your opinion on the story. Is you I'm
No,
sure
no,
you
what's
still
what?
didn't gain any interest
Which
in it, but
of course
um
not.
yeah.
I have no clue what the storyline is. I was like, this would even work. So I
Yeah,
haven't even like
I had to
bothered to
explain it
like
to you too.
give a
Yeah.
fuck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I literally had a bunch of questions. I'm like, wait, why is this guy in the like? And I'm like, and then even when I did like, I actually went after we beat it, I think, and I went and saw a deep dive and one of those lore daddies, and they described every aspect of what everything meant, and it was like a 2 hour fucking video in the background while I was working.
It's a
And I'm
lot.
like, I get it now. I still don't give a fuck. I get it. I 100% get it. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know. I just don't care.
Yeah. So for me, let me lower my mic just a little bit. This shit's peaking for some reason. For me, the story was the only thing that I loved. We'll talk about the rest in a second, but just story is the only thing that I loved. The story I appreciate because it's a callback to a lot of other lore things that have happened. And they're now bringing it to light in an actual full story. I do find it kind of odd that they had to introduce a new character, but I think that character still did very well for the story itself. I just found it strange that they couldn't just focus on or introducing characters that they're already in this world. So the story got me, especially towards the end. Beginning of the story in the campaign, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't know why you're drip feeding me all this stuff. Like, but then like the twist happens towards the end, and I'm like, I get it now. I appreciate what you're doing, Bungie. Thank you so much. So I love it. There's that holy shit moment in the end that I just knew that you were just gonna be like, I don't know what's going on. And I was just like, this is the problem with Bungie and Destiny and the story is that there are gonna be a lot more people just like you, exactly the same way. Like, what the fuck am I looking at? It's a giant like anus in space. I don't know what am I looking at over here. Like, I don't know why I'm fighting these fallen people. I don't know who this guy with glasses is. Who is that? Is that Ikora? I've like, like Ikora Ray's a big character in this thing. It's just they're just like, I don't know a thing about Ikora because I don't read the lore. I just know what they've shown so far in like cutscenes from previous like DLCs and stuff. So
yeah,
I get it. And that's the problem is that a lot of stuff gets left out and you have to be hardcore in the story in order to really appreciate it, which is sad because and that's a big reason why I'm sure like they're losing some of the fan base. What about you with the story? I know you didn't like it, but nothing at all caught your interest into it or like had you asking questions like, ooh, this might be interesting.
no. I mean, I didn't. Okay, so
The next question. No, go ahead.
no. I hate it. Side, not that I hate it. There is a part of me, and I kind of pointed it out, and I don't know what happened, but some of the writing that they wrote on the lines for all the characters, and I don't think it's the writing. I think it's the editing where people would talk and they would go, "Hey, yeah, I'm
Yeah, you
sorry,
mentioned that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Ikora. I'm sorry, Ikora. This is how we had to do it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, stop pausing." There were so many like dramatic pauses through an entire game, and I don't think it was meant to be like that. I think it was just poor editing, and I know they had some voice acting issues um that were going on in the backgrounds with with people boycotting whatever. So that could be part of it, but that bugged me. And so it bugged me to the point where like I couldn't focus on the story, and I didn't even want them to talk. And obviously, there were a bunch of NPCs that you walk up to in the main story that only had text, and I'm not gonna sit there and read all that text
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
because they had
The
the voice
writer
actors
strike and or the voice acting strike. Yeah.
the voice actor strike. That's what it was. The voice actor strike. Because of the voice actor strike, there was a shitload of dialogue of like just missing. So you walk up to a guy and just details. You got to press X through it, and even main characters you had to do it at times too. So it was just that was very off putting for me. And then overall, when you finally like, okay, let me sit down and see what the storyline is, and then for somebody who can like yourself or somebody else who can make sense to it, I'm like, well, okay, that's cute. I get it. You know, you're just giving more depth into Icor and stuff like that. That's fun. But will you use so my big question is will you keep using this fucking character? Or this is gonna be another throwaway. This is gonna be another crow or another, how many characters or whatever the last Silver Surfer fucking dude was who you never saw again. Like that to me is part of their downfall is you can make this great character, but if you're not gonna do anything with it later on, then this is all for nothing. And that Silver Surfer guy was a pure example of that.
Hmm.
And they had a few like it, and they're like in the background. And every now and then they'll have a DLC where, like, look, we're bringing back the Silver Surfer dude, and we're gonna have some more in-depth story and lore with him. It's like, you should have done that first. Why fucking introduce him just to, like, a year later talk about him more? So that bugged me. The gameplay, I liked. I mean, I like the ball. I like the puzzle. I
Okay.
like the balls. I like the puzzles. I liked the new planet was boring. It was super generic,
Yeah,
and I
it's
felt
very
very
generic.
small. And it was very small. So yes, they tried to layer it in this Metrovania type world where there's other layers, there's, up or down and stuff like that that you can't access until you get to it. But it still felt small, so you felt like you're going back and forth to the same places over and over again. And it was like, oh fuck, how many times I need to go back for a side mission? And I like that they'd introduce side missions. That is a classic MMO type thing. There's side missions you don't have to do them. If you do, you get more XP. You can boost yourself up that way, or you can continue on the main mission, which they
Hmm.
never really had. They only had the main mission, and that was it. Um, so I actually did enjoy that they did that. Um, and then the I think the puzzles were smart. All the puzzles were fun because that's what we all kind of like most about the Destiny raids, is that they have a lot of fun puzzles in the raids. So I felt like they just brought some of those mechanics, not all of it, but that same nature of it, and they did it a little bigger. They've always had this teaching mechanic of, like, whether it's Strand or whatever it is, of they do one thing and then you have to fight a boss that way, and then it's whatever. They've always done that, but this was smarter. This was a lot smarter when it came to the puzzles than they ever had, I thought. And I was like, wow, if they introduced that into, which they didn't, which is very disappointing that they didn't. I'm like, if they do that in the raid, that's gonna be fun. If I have to do this ball puzzles the same way that I'm doing in these things, or all these the teleporting cannons and stuff like that, that'd be really fun to do in the main raid. And they didn't do it. It's a completely different sets of puzzles. Haven't done the raid itself. I just seen video on it because I wanted to learn it
Yeah,
before I did it.
yeah, yeah.
But to me, that's disappointing. He's like, you missed the mark. What's the point of all this stuff? You can only do it on this planet. You can't do it anywhere else. And then it's gonna again. You have this character, which is this puzzle, these ball mechanics. You have it, you introduce it, and then you're just gonna throw it away afterwards. To me, it's what's the point of it then, right? And so that's what I do. What about you? What do you think of all that? All those?
Yeah, I so the ball mode and like the shooting with the teleporting and the weird like summoning platforms type thing that they're doing, it was all cool. It reminded me of almost like a Metroidvania, because as you progress through the campaign, you got stronger versions of those powers to progress further, and it
Mhm.
opened up other doors. So that was really cool. Unfortunately, what wasn't cool is that the planet that you had to use it on, yes, was boring. It was generic. It was like just a mess of a planet. It didn't give you that like awe awe factor that Bungie does with their skyboxes and their planets for so many of their other planets. So it was sad. Is like I felt like it was a crappy, quickly put together thing. So I feel like I could have enjoyed the whole puzzle elements and like the Metroidvania type stuff, the powers, a lot more if they had a much cooler planet. I think my other issue was that when you had to turn into a ball, it was very hard to determine where you had to go next in many places. So that kind of gets you frustrated, especially when you're timed or like when you're getting shot up, at least. So I got
Mhm.
frustrated. I found myself frustrated a lot when I'll turn myself into a ball, and I'm like, where the fuck do I have to go? Where's the next power station that I have to power up? Where's the next thing that I have to destroy? Like I gotta find a fucking hole. It's like a needle in a
Mhm.
haystack. I gotta find a hole somewhere that'll lead me to wherever it is it needs to lead me, and then I'll find the objective. So it was a pain in the ass for a while. Granted, like it seemed much easier for you because I was helping you walk through a lot of it. So, but for me,
Yeah.
I spent I still like not that ridiculous of an amount of time, but I still spent like a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe max looking for holes in walls and shit just to find out where I needed to
Mm.
go next. So it was annoying. So yeah, the planet. So it's like the mechanics were cool. That's a thumbs up, but the planet gives a thumbs down. So everything is kind of just like meh. That's the way I felt about it. But the puzzles were still cool. Those are interesting to kind of try to figure out. That was pretty much the only highlights of it. What about for like
What
for
did you
you,
think
like
of
with
the?
the grinding and shit?
What do you think of the grounding? You answer that one first. Just
I don't
curious.
like it. I don't like a whole grind fest, especially when we already know the mechanics. We've been playing the game for fucking 10 years, so the mechanics haven't really changed too much, and so the grind is not special anymore. And now they've actually made it harder to grind. And not hard in the sense that like only the hardcore can do it. I'm like even the hardcore have to really put in hours to get to like level 400, 450. Um, Mind you, for those people who don't know, like you start they reset the type of power level that you start at. So it used to be in the thousands, but now they kind of rolled it back. So now you start back at zero, and then now the power levels are considered hundreds. So you're in 100 power, 200 power, 125 power, 130 power, and you're working your way up. And I hit 200, and at that point, that's end game, and it's a grind. It's a ridiculous grind, and I don't enjoy it at all. Like even getting from
Mm.
210 to 15, I did not enjoy it. Like I was like, this is too much. I can't believe I had to have to put in like fucking 10 hours a day, 5 days a week in order for me to get to 400 if I wanted to. And maybe that's like the older man in me now after playing the game.
Mhm.
Because also there's a lot of other games to play, and I don't want to put in that much time into something because after 6 months they're going to reset the power level. Um, uh, so I'm just grinding pretty much for the gear and the stats. Um, or maybe it's just like I have turned into a casual player, so I don't appreciate it as much as the hardcore now. It could go either way, but I don't like it. I don't think there's enough loot that's worth grinding for, and so I don't think the grind is worth it.
So I appreciate the grind. It's twofold. I look at because again, I like to make builds, right? And one of the thing that I always found a little disappointing was when once I found a good set of armor, I didn't really need to invest in anything more when it comes to armor. I just need to
Yeah.
switch some stuff around because the armor that I already have, it's already maxed out. I got it from either high level raids or high level dungeons, and like I forgot what name of the dungeon was we ran. Like we put in our time to do it, and I don't have to do it again, right?
Hmm.
So all the armor, so there was it's kind of intriguing to have to redo it all again and get this powerful armor. Now the high stat armor for the way it used to work is 65 points before you master it. It's considered to be a high level armor. Now at tier three, some tier twos, but definitely tier three, you get that. And then it goes past that. It has the opportunity of going past that when if you get those tier four and tier five. Not everybody has to be a tier five fucking player. Nobody has to be. I don't believe everybody has to be a tier four player. I probably most likely will never be a tier five player, but I can see myself getting up to tier four, right? Because
Hmm.
of how casually I play. The amount of hours that you do have to put into it is a dedication. It is they calculated about 120 hours you have to put in order to get you to 450, or either 450 or 400. So either way, it's intense, right? So that's a lot of fucking hours on one game. That's also a good thing if it was a fucking game that hasn't been out for 10 years. If it was a brand new game and you said I have dedicated 120 hours to this game, you're like, fuck, you must really like this game, or you dedicated. Something must be good about this game. That is a good, I believe, is a good sign of a game that you're able to play this game for a purpose for that long. Not again, not everybody's gonna do it, but it is I believe, even though they're bitching about it, yes, and they're gonna complain about it. I believe the hardcore people are so used to going hey, how come I can't get my max 450 within the first week, which is what everybody would do. All the
Right.
hardcore players, they can get that within the first week. They can't do that. It's impossible to do that now. And I just believe it's a difference of having to actually play the game and grind the way most people used to have when you used to play WoW or World of Warcraft, any other fucking these games that are super fucking grindy. You know, Warcraft, Warframe is super grindy. It's the exact same
Hmm.
way. It is no
Hmm.
difference between those games. But I think we got the community has gotten so comfortable. And wait, you gave I was able to get that max light level at 500 at first week, and that what I think is changed. I do think the loot is very good at high level. It's very interesting the way you put the tiers together to build. Sorry, it could be. You're right. There isn't enough loot yet to grind for it to make it interesting.
Hmm.
Besides the fact that it's going to get you the points, the stat distribution that is going to make you stronger and do your abilities a lot faster than you ever have before, which I find to be intriguing. And you're going to be a lot stronger in a few different ways than you ever did in the game before. And I find that to be interesting, but you need the high tier 4, tier 5 in order to actually see that happen. So it means you actually have to put time into the game. It means you actually have to play the game. Now, where I feel they really fucking fall short is they want you to do this fucking portal thing. They're pushing this portal activity. They want you to do this portal and they want you to, but they don't make it diverse enough for you to actually use the portal what everybody does to grind properly and most efficient because that is always it's always about what is going to be the most efficient grind, and that's any game. If it's fucking mining, chopping down the same fucking tree for 16, for 20, 120 hours, they're going to do it if that's the most efficient way. And in this game, there is only a few efficient ways to grind. It's solo leveling by yourself, and that's it. That's the only way you can officially grind. There are two missions. One's called K1. One's called I forgot the other one what it's called, but there's just two solo missions, and they take 3 to 5 minutes once you know what to do. They take 3 to 5 minutes long. They're the shortest missions. You can get them really done, and you can put the modifiers the way you want it. That's boring. That is
Yeah.
what's killing the game. If they, I believe the portal is better than what it was because before what it was is I'm just gonna do 3 strikes. I'm gonna do three. I'm gonna do 3 strikes. I'm gonna do 3 crucibles, 3 gambits, and then I'm done for the week. I did all my weeklies. I'm done. Is there a dungeon? I do the one dungeon real quick. I do the one raid real quick. Okay, and then I turn the game off and I never play it again. I'm done for the week. Most people will get their shit done on Tuesday, type of thing, whatever day the reset is. You can't do that anymore. You do have to play every single day in order to play it to get all your shit in, basically. But they need to open up and make it fair. Then, like, you should be able to choose which missions you want that will give you. Okay, look, if yes, doing this one mission, the K1, that's only going to give me one piece of loot, but it's very fast. But this other mission that takes 15 minutes long, it's going to give me 3 to 4. It balances out to be exactly the same. So it's because
Hmm.
it balances out to be exactly the same, I can do whatever I want now and keep it fresh for me and keep it unique by doing different stuff because they do. I don't. Me and you did missions that we never did before, right? Or
Well,
at least don't fucking remember.
that's because there's so many seasons that we skipped throughout the years.
And some of it is just old content that we just might have forgot. But oh man, I forgot. Like
Hmm.
there was a few missions that we did. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this. This was a fun fucking place. I remember we used like the memories just flew. I'm like, oh, I remember doing fucking Nightmare in this fucking place. Like that's not a bad thing to bring you down memory lane like that, right?
Yeah.
You should be having fun with that. But the fact that that's not efficient, well, then nobody's gonna actually play it. Nobody's gonna do it. So then it's like, well, what's the point of this portal thing? And that's when they're failing. Now, I think because people are so like FOMO of I need to be 450, and then it's deteriorating. It's determining them to like, oh fuck, I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna give up the game. I think that's ultimately gonna hurt them because it's not for the casual player. I do not think the grinding aspect of getting to 450 was not gonna be for the casual player. And and that's to me is interesting, because again, it's not supposed to be. You don't have to be Like the raid is not saying you have to be 450 to do the raid.
Yeah.
The raid is
Yeah.
saying just be
We could do it
200 and
now
you're
at
good.
200. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a perfect sign of, look, we still have all the contact open for you. Where before was, no, you had to get to really high level in order to do the raid properly. Otherwise, you're gonna just die. So we had to grind, a little bit. And granted, yes, it was faster, but we had to grind up a little bit just to get to that so that we can do the raid or whatever dungeon. Usually it was the dungeon. Dungeons is really hard, and they don't do that anymore. They leave it so that it's at a low light level for a reason, because that is the casual. That's the casual cutoff. It's that 200 to 250. That tier 2 to tier 3 is the casual cutoff. So I find
Yeah.
it to be interesting, and I like what they're doing. But again, if they don't, if the big thing, if they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot with this one little thing, and I know they already announced and they already said it, but they need to backtrack on it. Is if they do reset your light level, you will have people to drop off, because yes, there are people who are
Yes.
dedicated, the Azicross and all those fucking people who are dedicated to do that. Don't get me wrong. They will do it once, maybe twice, but they're not doing it fucking 3 times a year. That's insane. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's absolutely insane to ask them to do that level of fucking grind. Yes, and they're still probably gonna, those hardcore people will still play the game just as much, but they're gonna give up and they're gonna lose a lot of fucking people.
That's how
And then they're gonna
burnout
lose the
happens.
casual. And then they're gonna lose the casual, because casual will be like, well, what's the point? Nobody's playing this game anymore, or it's not achievable. It's not gonna seem as if it's gonna be the achievable goal, because it's like, oh shit, I just reset it again.
Well,
Fuck it,
so
I'm
here's
done.
your question. Here's the
I'm done.
question with all that, though. The question with that is that, remember, they have a system in place where I could be power level 100, but as long as I find someone that's 200 or above, it bumps me up to that level whenever we do a raid. So what is the point in so many people, especially I guess I'm specifically asking about the casual players, what is even the point of putting any type of grind work done when all I have to do is find someone like you to get me to at least like 300, 350 or even more. That's
Because
that's where I
I'm
see like
grinding.
where it goes wrong is that nobody's gonna want to play casually, anyways. Nobody's gonna want to play
Yeah,
when all you have to do is find high level people to jump in with.
because I'm grinding. I'm grinding personally because I like the. Let's say I'm a big hardcore game, and I really want to fully make these builds. I want to make a bunch of different builds that have all these high stat armor that's going to change, because that changes builds. You having a plus 200 or double, triple fucking 200s in this game can
Yeah.
change your build completely from somebody who doesn't have that. And you can only get that
Mm,
if you have tier 4,
hmm.
tier 5 gear. And for those people who want to do that, that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it for gear. You're basically doing it for gear, and that's your way of getting gear, right? That's the new
Yes.
gear. That's the
Okay.
new aspect of it. That's the fun part. And there are a lot of people who didn't give a shit about gear before, and those are the regular casuals who are like, you're never gonna get them to do it anyway. They're never gonna do the fucking big as hard mode dungeon because it's some fun to them.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, speaking of the raid, there is controversy going on with the raid itself right now. We just had the raid released a couple weeks ago, and as anybody who plays Destiny knows, that on the first day the raid is released, they release a contest mode. It's only contest mode that you can't join in any other way. Um, Contest mode pretty much makes it more difficult. It's more challenging, I should say. Is probably the way Bungie would say it. And a lot of people were having a very hard time with this. It almost like the enemies were abnormally more bullet spongy than usual. So a lot of people were frustrated. For example, the world's first. The whole point of the contest mode, for those who don't know, is you want to be world's first to beat the raid. You actually literally get a title that you can show off in game, and you also get a freaking belt like that. Bungie actually congratulates you and sends it to you and all that stuff. Um, for world's first took about 15 hours to beat this raid. Um, but unfortunately, what controversy came up about it was that I got here 70% overall. Or for example, 64 out of the top 100 who beat the raid cheated. They cheated the raid. There was a lot of different signs. They showed like, really fast completions. Like you don't beat a fucking raid in 15, 20, 30 minutes. But they showed those type of completions, the damage outputs, just different signs that showed that they were clearly cheating. And eventually Destiny put in, the ban hammer and banned a lot of those people who were caught cheating. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on the cheating in general, and also your thoughts on my opinion with the fact that like this kind of shows that like people are losing interest in a sense, because people are willing to cheat even in the raid, especially worlds in contest mode, because of Bungie and their lack of like really giving you something new to like have fun with. What were your thoughts on the cheating and everything?
The cheating is astonishing. Like there is no valid reason to give for the amount of cheat that happened. It was like 70% of the fucking people got booted for cheating for some reason. And there's two things. It's like, is this the first time that it was so big and they finally wanted to put attention to it, or was it always there were some cheaters and they just didn't care? Yeah, I'm just curious on that because
Well,
it's not the first time people cheat.
always
Like
there.
I've
No, yeah,
seen
there've always been cheaters, but never to this amount.
like I've seen people who've claimed to, I think there was a few world first on like the Hidden King or something. It was like an old nude raid that they introduced where
Uh-uh.
the world first got banned because they were cheating. They were using golden, like a glitched golden gun or whatever it was. Like I've seen that before, but the extent of this 15-minute like blatant, outright, just horrible entire groups, not just one person, but groups cheating is just intense to me. Um, I don't think you should blame it on the fact that it took 15 hours. I think that's a good thing. I can't remember the raid. I remember one of the first few. There was a raid that took like 2-3 days, took like 36 hours to complete
I know which
because they
one you're
couldn't
talking about.
figure
That's
out
the Last Wish.
yeah, yeah, because they couldn't figure out the fucking one of the mechanics of the ball that just auto kills you of where to
Mhm.
go. There was like an eye or something that would just auto kill you if it
Oh,
saw you.
you're thinking
The
of
one with the Galahorn, the one with how you got Galahorn
yeah,
when
you're
when
thinking
you
of that
first
one.
no.
No, I don't know if that wasn't the longest, because if people already knew how to play that, they just slightly tweaked a few of the mechanics. The
No, I'm
longest
talking
raid
about when it
was the
first. I'm talking about when it first came out. Like probably D1.
oh
Like when it
yes,
first came out,
okay,
and like
gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
and it was this thing where people had to figure it out, and it took them a long. And even like you said,
Uh-huh.
the longest one on Taken King and shit like that. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, right? It took you time to figure this thing out to beat it. So when you did beat it, you have that yes, fuck yes, we fucking did it. We spent 15 hours. I pissed in 3 bottles. My wife was wondering what that smell is. That's fucking awesome. But let's face it, they don't have wives. um, no offense, sorry.
Damn.
Um, but you know what I mean? Like that sense of accomplishment is a good thing. When you do something for that long. I think the last raid from the last season was a disappointment. So I'm not sure. Do you remember what the time frame on the world's first on that one was?
No, because I didn't even play it either. I didn't care. I
You
was burnt
didn't, but
out.
we didn't play it, but we made fun of it. Actually, we did beat it. We did play it.
No,
We
the
did play
raid.
it.
No, we didn't. The last raid was fine. Was
Maybe it wasn't.
final shape. Where you fight the witness, and we did
No,
not fight
not
the
that one. Not
witness.
that one. So yeah, I don't actually remember that one at all because I stopped following chat. But the one before that was one because we did do that one. The one before that from the expansion before that was an hour or 2 hours. And that was a legit world first. And it was considered to be the easiest fucking new raid that they
Yeah,
ever had in existence.
yeah.
So I believe they didn't want that to happen again. Again, I kind of 100% know what happened on the last one, but because nobody talks about it, could also mean that it was underwhelming. So maybe that's what they were expecting. They didn't want that underwhelming aspect of we put a lot into this raid. yes, these things are kind of bullet sponges, but it's also because gear is different. Gear should be different. No, you don't need fucking. You shouldn't have gone in there with tier one gear, which is what most people did because again, it was the next day, like it came out the same week or whatever, and gear's a little harder to get. So you go in there with tier one gear, and yeah, everything's gonna be a little harder. You go in there with tier two or tier three gear, and it'll probably be easy. And like people got it down packed now because people didn't know they needed that, and you actually did need that
Hmm.
so they can be stronger and shoot stronger. And actually, the weapon stat does matter now, and the health stat doesn't matter as much. So there is a different way of thinking when you're building, when you're doing those builds. So everything's different now. So you can't complain about that because that's a good thing. It should be different. It shouldn't have been the same fucking thing. Like, do you want it to be an easy fucking thing and it's done in 4 hours and that's the world's first, even though it's the same shit, but they're not as bullet
I
sponges? Like,
wonder, yeah, I wonder if people got scared because they realized how much HP these enemies, these bosses had. So
yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh fuck, I don't want to put in 15 hours. Let me just type
cheat.
in a couple mods
Yeah,
and cheat in here."
exactly. So and I think more people and again more cheating's been more prevalent in a lot of games, whether it be Marvels, Rivals, Overwatch. It's
Yeah,
just something that's
we'll
becoming more
probably talk about
casual
Marvel
to
Rivals at
these,
some point in another
yeah, to
episode.
these kids. I think a lot of these kids, I don't think all of them are like the people our age are doing this, right? It's younger, much younger demographic that are doing this. The kids in their I feel old, but kids half our age, like in their 20s, that are like, fuck it, I don't have the attention
half
span
half
of
and
15
half that age.
hours. Yeah, I don't have the attention span of 15 hours. I want I'm the same person complaining that I don't want to grind for 120 hours because I just want to have it. And how come I can't have it now? So you know what? I'm gonna cheat. And I think
Hmm.
that's very disappointing. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad they caught them. So it's good.
That's dealt with. Hopefully, people learn the lesson, or at least they set an example, so future people don't have to cheat. I'm going to combine the final question. I'm going to leave it to a final question, kind of like a two-parter. Do we need a Destiny 3? Should they kind of abandon what Destiny 3 is right now? We know that Bungie is focusing, they're kind of spread a bit thin. Bungie's focusing on Marathon. They also have another undisclosed project. And then, of course, we know that they have a lot of controversy and financial issues. And they have to backtrack on Marathon because there's a controversy with Marathon and they delayed that for a while. So do you think they should rather kind of focus on D3 rather than continue with D2? And the question goes hand in hand with, do you think that the fact that they're supporting PS4 and in the previous Xbox, whichever that shit is, because I can't remember these names now with Xbox. Um,
Xbox One.
yeah, Xbox One. Um, do you think because of their support, it's holding Destiny back? So maybe making a D3 would benefit them, so that way they get either a new engine or they can fully support just the new gen consoles. Which already at this point, by the way, sorry, a little bit of a tangent, but already at this point, they're already working on a PS6 and another Xbox generation. So we might have that shit in another 2 years. So Bungie has not fully focused on new gen technically. Do you think that's
Mhm.
something that they should be focusing on so that way the older consoles don't hold them back and they should just work on a D3? Regardless of what
Yeah.
their finances are, like that's a whole other talk. Like, yes, maybe they might not have the money to do a D3 or the resources, but just opinion wise as a gamer, D3. What do you think?
So I think D. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on D3 because D1 to D2 was basically the same game, but it needed to be on the next gen. It needed to be on a different engine to support more and do more and be stronger, right? That's why
Hmm.
they needed it to be D2 and it couldn't do it on D1. It's impossible. So they probably need to do the same thing for D2 to D3. They need to have it so that it could be stronger. They can put double the amount of fucking mods, ads that they have, because that's what will make the game more interesting, is having a shitload of fucking ads and you just plowing through them like you're playing Diablo or something. That
Hmm.
would make the game way more interesting. That's why people like Warframe. That's why I'm liking Warframe a little bit, because you get that feeling of like I'm fucking slaying through armies, and they can do that, but they can't do it now because they don't have the capability of doing it now. So maybe they do need to do it just to get a big fucking reset on everything, and then it will be the reset on the subclasses or classes altogether. They can have completely different classes if they wanted to, and just have just a different game out there because D2 right now to me just feels like rinse repeat, right? It's the same
Yes.
fucking thing, just slapping different coats on it and then just calling it different shit. Armor 3.0, whatever the fuck this is. This is cute, but this is just a different way of grinding. This is just this. It ultimately is going to be the same thing. At the end of the day, you're going to get bored of it. I will get bored of it just as anything else. So yeah, I 100% think they need a D3 to keep you involved, and then they can continue a brand new story arc and world and things that's going on, and the way they've done it, and that's the only way they could really do it. I really think the only real way to save Destiny is by making a D3 and obviously be on the next gen and not really focus it. Now, if they're trying to save D2, I think they need to take it off the next gen, the old gen consoles,
The old gens.
because it's limiting them to what they could do. Because unless the engine is not capable of doing more than what it's already doing, and that's why they're leaving it on the OGen, because it's like, well, we can only support this anyway. So what's the point of taking it off and losing all these people who are potential microtransaction users, right? And they're gonna lose that money anyway. So what's the point if this is our limit right now? We can't do more than this. And I don't know that. I don't know the answer for sure. I do know that the last one had a ton of bugs for PS4 and Xbox One users, where the game was unplayable to them for the first week and a half or something, which I find to be interesting. So, like, again, in order to save D2, they need to go to D1, the last gen.
Well, they need to get
engines
rid of
came out
D1
to the
too,
more.
because even though they don't support D1 anymore, they still have servers up. You can still play it to this day.
Well, yeah, and it should probably always be like that, and maybe even for people who play, maybe leave it that way for people who can play PS4, right? You have up to the final, whatever the fuck this last was mentioned, final shape,
Edge of Fate.
whatever
Edge
it
of
is,
Fate.
Edge of Fate. You have up to Edge of Fate. You can play whatever the fuck you want, do whatever you want on Edge of Fate, and that's all you have. But you cannot get the new ones. I don't know how that works exactly. I have no clue how that works. Like I never logged in to a game that there's already been a DLC that I've never bought. I'm not sure how that works, especially when the whole armor system and everything 100% changed. I don't know if it forces you to buy it or not. I have no idea, but that could be something that they do, and just like sunset the PS4 users into that form of Destiny 2 and just leave them there.
So I think that I agree with you. I think they need a D3, but for different reasons. One, I think everybody just needs a fresh start after 8 years of playing with it. I think it's just the idea of a fresh start is appealing. Two, the game's a mess, and not in the sense that like it's a bad game. I mean, like it's literally like there's way too much going on. Like the UI, the games, the gaming loop, the systems, the shader system, the vault, the constant vaulting of content, the back and forth of the vaulting of content. And they drip feed us some. They probably have to resell us some other in the future. The microtransactions, like there's just way too many menus and cursors and currencies. There's way too much. And I know that's no different from an MMO. If you were to jump into an MMO 5, 6, 7, 8 years like into its release and you've never played it before, it's going to be overwhelming. But I think if they're also going to want to bring new players, starting fresh would be an appeal for people, because it'll be, yes, you're right, it'll probably be the same for the most part as D2, but at least it'll be a fresh start when it comes to the UI, the way it looks, the way it feels. Maybe, like, this is a huge maybe, because I know this is a huge undertaking programming wise, but maybe we can carry our characters from D2 to D3. so that way we don't lose out on our stuff, but we still starting fresh with like the worlds and and everything else that I just said. Um, Also, like Bungie is kind of known right now for what they call spaghetti code. Their coding for the game is such a mess that there are always bugs every time they implement new patches or new DLCs and stuff, because the coding has been overwritten and fixed and changed so many times throughout the years that it's hard to debug and fix everything. So a lot of stuff tends to break down very often.
Hmm.
Um, so again, starting fresh, you get a fresh code as well. And I would even, cross my fingers, maybe even get a new engine if they're gonna go with just the current gen consoles. Something that loads a lot faster, something that feels a lot smoother. Um, Maybe like the servers get upgraded or something like that, or at least the
Yeah.
connections. Something like that. But I'm just throwing shit out there. But I think D3 would be benefited hugely. But I think the reason why they don't, and understandably so, I think their biggest reason is the finance. I think it's just the money, really. The money leads them to just continuing supporting D2 rather than spending money on what would essentially be a brand new game. But they're already working on 2 at the moment. So we're probably never going to see a D3, but I still want one. That's pretty much it. Any final thoughts before we start closing up?
No, that's. I think we kind of summed it all up.
Okay. I want to mention, because these weren't in the notes that I sent you before, but some news came about today, this morning, that I ran into. There was an article from thegamepost.com. They actually posted, I'm going to read a little bit for you. Sony has confirmed Bungie is slowly being folded into PlayStation Studios 2 years after the $3.6 billion acquisition. 2 years after Sony acquired Bungie, Destiny 2 developers are slowly losing the independence it was originally promised. The deal was closed in mid 2022, was supposed to let Bungie operate as an independent subsidiary under Sony's umbrella, but after missed revenue targets, internal struggles, and multiple rounds of layoffs, Bungie's role within the PlayStation ecosystem is changing dramatically. So we might not even see Bungie in the future, the very soon future. They might actually get dissolved into Sony, and Sony will just take the reins completely with Destiny in the future. It's fucking sad. What any thoughts on that before we finish?
I don't feel bad because Bungie has fucked up a lot, not with just IP, but with Diablo and a few other IPs that they've had. So
Oh, Bungie? No, what are you
I
talking
don't
about?
feel
You thinking Blizzard?
Bungie. Sorry, I am thinking Blizzard. Sorry.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Bungie fucking had Halo, right?
Or Halo, but Halo is
Yeah.
taken over
Uh,
by a couple other companies.
yeah. I just I don't know. What the hell does Bungie have left besides Destiny?
Nothing. Then Bungie has Destiny, and they're working on the new IP Marathon. Halo's
Yeah,
owned
they
by
have. So that means they
Microsoft
have
now.
nothing. Yeah. So that kind of just proves that maybe they shouldn't be in this business anymore. If you lost all your major IPs and you really have no IP that you're working with, and what you have left is barely hanging on.
Yeah.
So it being on Sony, they're not gonna just throw it away. They know it's a huge money maker, and I think that could be a great thing. I really do. I really think that'd be probably the best right now.
I think
Yeah. What do you think?
I think I right now, honestly, I trust Sony more than Bungie. Bungie's been fucking up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And I trust Sony. I think Sony very much takes care of their IPs. I think it'll be a very iffy uh production because of the fact that it's multi-platform. So I don't know if they'll probably go back to exclusives for the appeal for for PlayStation. But Sony in general, whenever they have an actual IP that's theirs, they take care of it. I feel like they do. So I'm crossing my fingers that they actually treat it a lot better. You can treat a franchise, an IP, like a cash cow, but don't abuse it, you know? So I kind of feel like that's what Bungie did, and hopefully Sony could
Hmm.
kind of dial it back a little bit. Hopefully, crossing fingers with that. So I'm actually kind of glad. Bungie. I don't want Bungie to go. I know it probably will happen, but I don't want Bungie to go. I hope they have success with Marathon, but with the Marathon controversy that's going on, that'll probably be
Nah, this doesn't
their
sound like
last
it.
hurrah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll probably be their last thing before they go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the end of the show. Um, for anybody who agreed or disagreed with us, leave your stuff in the comments. We're good at responding back as long as you're civil and we can have a discussion of agreeing and disagreeing. I'm always good with that. And you can always check out the my Twitter or /X, whatever you want to call it. I'm usually on that. Um, yeah, and we're gonna try to do more episodes, me and Sober, so we can get this going again. We had this going for quite a long time, and then we kind of stopped. So let's see if we can gather that momentum, and you guys watching us can kind of help with that. So yeah, give us your opinion on everything that we discussed so far and future videos. So we'll see you guys.
Peace.